In this video, I'm going to walk you through the best way, in my opinion, to pick the niche that you're going to focus on to start your business. So I asked my Instagram, what are some of the questions that you have? And this one came up a lot, which is like, how do I pick my customer? How do I pick the niche? Like, what's the process, etc. And so obviously my book, this guy, it's 99 cents on Amazon. For those of you guys who don't know, are like, it's not 99 cents. The Kindle is 99 cents because it's digital. The hard copy, Amazon changes the prices, but you can get a hardback or you can get the digital one for 99 cents because that's the lowest they would let me sell it for. All right. Anywho, so picking the niche, I think this is something that's like wildly misunderstood. And I'll tell you where most people get wrong is that they pick a niche and they have no idea about the niche. All right. And so Y Combinator, which is a venture, it's like an incubator type thing in Silicon Valley. They have their things that they look for when they're investing in businesses and they're accepting them into YC. And one of the ones that was really interesting to me is that they look for past experience within the space. And because I think a big part of that is that a lot of times new businesses are not actually really new. They're slight iterations on things that are old. And candidly, within my own business experience, I don't even do anything new. I just try and do stuff better, which people somehow poo-poo on. It's like you could go into dry cleaning and do it better than everybody else and still win. Like you could go into lawn care and do it better than everyone else and still win. And I think that's wildly underrated. You don't need anything new. And so I think that is a wildly underestimated component of having strategy in business is just like, how am I going to use the value equation in the book? Like how am I going to provide more value to my customers than anyone else can? But like the actual industry itself that you're serving doesn't need to be new or different, right? So that being said, like service with a smile, wildly underrated. But the piece that I wanted to hit on here is that like, I'll tell you this story because I think it really drives this point home. So in Alan, our software company that we recently sold a majority stake in, one of the agency owners, for 9 months was just like never making progress, right? Like was always hopping on, was always having issues. And it was like his clients weren't getting results. And he was like, how do I get around that? And I was like, you need to fix that. And it got to the point where I just said, listen, man, like you don't know what you're doing, which is why your clients aren't getting results, period. He's like, well, I've got this one guy who does, who makes all this money using using the leads that we get him. And I was like, okay, well, why is he making money and the other ones aren't? He's like, well, I don't know. And I was like, right. So that's not because of you, that's because of him. And so what I told him to do, which was wild at the time, I said, I think that you should close your agency. I was like, I don't think you know anything about real estate. I said, I think that if you know how to get real estate leads, then you should go get your realtor's license, go generate your own leads, and go build a real estate business and learn it. And then once you have succeeded in doing that, then if you want to, then go make the agency and show other people how to do it because you've actually done it. And so there was a tweet by Layla, my wife. She said stop listening to people about how to play the game who've never been anywhere but the sidelines. And the problem is too many of the people who are watching this right now, y'all are on the sidelines and have always been on the sidelines and are trying to pick a niche to get into to sell how to do the niche. Well, that's dumb. You've never done it. So a lot of times people are trying to skip to a higher leverage opportunity without having done the requisite work of understanding the niche, which is why the Y Combinator people look for, like, if you want to make a software in the payment space, we'd love to see that you have experience in the payment space because there's so much stuff that you don't know that you know when you actually spend 3-5 years doing something in an industry. You understand the lingo, you understand the avatar, you understand the problems, and you can see opportunities if you have an entrepreneurial hat on. There's always problems in every industry, which means there's always opportunity. And fundamentally, business is just solving problems that exist and making sure the math makes sense. Like that's literally it. It's like, where is there a problem? How much do they think this is a problem? And is there a way that I can solve it and charge for it? That's it. Like that's really all that business is. And really how well you solve the problem is going to dictate how much virality your business has, because if you solve it really well, people will tell people and your business will grow, right? I think the problem that a lot of people have is they didn't know how to make an offer, right? It's the fundamental thing that is the beginning of building a business is you got to know what you're selling. And so that was a problem for a lot of people. And then people got that problem solved and then they told their friends and the book sold 100,000 copies in 6 months with no promotion. And so I'm sharing this because I couldn't write a book on offers without having made a ton of offers. And I feel like there's too often people who are trying to focus on a niche who've never actually done the thing in the niche. And this is really, really rampant in the internet space because everyone's trying to take a shortcut to get there when they realize, like when I'm telling you right now, you're never going to get there because you're not good enough. Like you're never going to get there because you're not good enough. You have to do the rocky cutscene. You have to eat the shit for a period of time so that you can get the reps in, so you can put your time under the bar in, so that you can actually get good. And before you are good, you will suck. And you have to accept a long period of sucking, and you do enough volume that eventually you'll suck so little that you'll actually be good. And then at that point, then you'll actually have a real decision to make, which is, I'm actually really good at this thing now that I've learned. Do I want to teach it to other people, or just want to do more of the thing that I'm doing, right? Because like a realtor can then just grow a team of 100 realtors and own the entire thing, which is what I'd recommend this guy do, right? Rather than have an agency that doesn't, right? And so this is kind of where I think the problem is that, like, I had another question that was sent to me on Instagram, which is like, hey, how do I solve churn? Because a lot of my clients aren't getting results. And I'm like, well, duh. He's like, he said, how do I scale from 10,000 to 100,000 a month when I don't have a lot of testimonials? I was like, you're not good at the thing that you're supposed to be good at, which is why you don't have testimonials, which is why you're not going to $100,000 a month. Like, he's making the goal $100,000 a month rather than being good. I have no words. I have no words. I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's in such a fucking rush that you will never get there. It is the slowest path to getting there, is to fool yourself into thinking that you're good at something that you're not. You have to go and pull the thread and say, and the thing is like, well, do what you're passionate about. Whatever. You're not going to be passionate about stuff that you suck at. What you have to do is like, which of these opportunities seem like they potentially have high leverage, and I'm going to learn from the bottom, right? It's like one of the best ways to learn stuff is starting at the bottom, not because it's the only option, but because if you understand the entire pathway of a client journey or of an industry journey, then you will have more trench knowledge, more depth of experience that you will be then able to apply. People see my, videos on personal finance. People see videos of mine on sales. People see videos of mine on recruiting. People see videos of mine of marketing. And it's like, how did you acquire all these skills? It's because it's not like because I tried to jump to the spot that I'm at. You can't skip. Like, there's a sequence. Buildings are built with foundations, and your career is a pyramid, and the peak of that pyramid is based on the depth of the foundation that you build. And so, like, I've said this before and I'll say it again, but your work works on you more than you work on it. And so even though you might not be getting paid in the period that you're at, just because you're struggling doesn't mean you're failing. And it means, and the thing is, as long as you're getting better, you're making progress, and the progress is the success, is that you are getting better. And like, you will turn the corner. Like, that's an inevitability if you put enough time in, period. I promise you that. If you don't stop doing something for 10 years, you'll be really good at it, period. And if you're really good at it, you'll like doing it. Right? And if you like doing it, then at that point, you won't wonder why your business isn't making money, because you'll actually be good. And then you won't have these questions. But the questions that I get, I would say a third of them come from a very short time horizon. It's like, why am I not a millionaire? It's been 90 days, Alex. What the hell? It's like, well, you didn't put the 5 years in. So if you're trying to figure out what niche you're going to pick, the point is to just pick and then accept that you're not going to be overwhelmingly successful for like 5 years. Every entrepreneur like that I know of puts 5 years in before anything really happens. And you're like, fuck, 5 years? Probably shouldn't tell new entrepreneurs that. Yes, you're going to be very successful very quickly. You should quit your job and do it. It takes a long time to learn because there's a lot of stuff you got to know. You got to know how to generate leads. You got to know how to work leads. You got to know how to set appointments. You got to learn how to close. You got to learn how to set up bank accounts. You got to learn how to transact. You got to learn how to do billing. You got to learn how to do payroll. You got to learn how to actually fulfill a product. You got to learn how to create a customer journey. You got to learn how to ascend people. You got to learn how to decrease churn. You got to there's a lot of stuff. You got to learn how to recruit. You got to learn how to hire. You got to there's a lot of stuff that you got to learn. And so to think that it's somehow going to take 90 days, it's like, why do you think that you can get a chemistry degree in 4 years and think you can somehow be able to become a master's at entrepreneurship in 90 days? It doesn't give respect to the game. Like, you have to respect the game. Like, a lot of people have been playing this for 40 years. No one's getting their master's degree for 40 years. Well, some PhDs are, right? And they're probably pretty good at whatever their thing is, right? And so it's like, to think that you're going to beat guys who've been playing the same game for 40 years on your first try in 90 days doesn't respect the game. And so, I was fortunate that I started young. I started when I was 23. I mean, the only thing I could have done without doing that is just start instead of going to college. But you have to put your time under the bar. Your legs aren't going to grow until you can't do 4 squat workouts and expect your legs to grow. You'll get better at squatting, and that getting better at squatting is a requisite for having bigger legs, but you still got to put the volume in. There's a depth of understanding that happens with volume that people cannot appreciate. You got to do the boring work, and you got to love the boring work. And if you can do that, you won't lose, because the only person who's injecting this artificial timeline on you is you. And so anyways, it was one of the number one questions that I was getting in my comments and stuff. It's like, how do you pick the niche? How do you know where to start? You don't know where to start. You just start, and then you start accumulating knowledge, and then you will learn. It's like reading books on sales before you've actually had a sales call. I'm actually very against it. I think you should start selling and then read books on sales, because then the books will actually make sense to you, right? Like, trying to read 100 books on entrepreneurship before you've actually had a business is silly. Start a business. How do you start a business? You get a bank account, you get an LLC, and you figure out what you're going to sell. Like that's what you do, right? That's how you start a business. So it's going to start with promotion and selling, because you can't even have the rest of the stuff until you learn how to do that. And if you don't know what you're selling, it's because you probably aren't good at the thing yet. So you got to go like get some industry experience, right? That's why banks, by the way, they don't loan to people who don't have industry experience. So if you're like, hey, I want to get a loan to, this was actually a story I heard from my gym owner who ended up working with us for a period of time, was in gym launch, was he wanted to start a gym and get a loan from the bank, and he went to like 10 banks and they all said no, and he said the reason was because he didn't have experience. So what he did was he went to Bally's and worked at Bally's for like 3 or 4 years and worked his way up to becoming the personal training manager, and then at that point started his gym. And he didn't even need the bank loan at that point because he had saved some money and he learned how the business worked. And lo and behold, he was like, that was some of the best advice I ever had. So sometimes you just got to get the industry experience. People just want to skip to the last step when like there are prerequisites to getting there, which is why prerequisites exist. So this is hopefully the real answer to how to pick your niche, which is like you just need to do something that is at least not repelled from, that you see people making money in, and then stick with it for an inordinate amount of time without convincing yourself that you're smarter than you are, which is a loose paraphrasing of a Twitter quote that I can't remember who wrote it. So anyways, if you're new, I don't know if I said in the beginning, but my name is Alex Mosey. I own acquisition.com. We do about $85 million a year. And if this is your first video, welcome to Mosey Nation, and I'll see you next vid. Bye.